So you might have heard of functional neurological disorder, or FND, under a different name, conversion disorder, because this disorder has been around, presumably as long as people have, but it's only in the last handful of years that it's actually been able to be identified with the advent of fMRI and its application to the disorder. Before that, people mistakenly thought that it was a mental health condition, and that's where the name comes from. People thought that affected patients were converting stress, like emotional stress, to physical symptoms as a way of coping with the things that were going wrong in their lives. But that's not what's happening in the disorder. It's not a mental health condition. A critical part of explaining this is knowing what brain networks really are. A lot of people think of brain function as being kind of isolated to individual areas controlling specific functions, but that is not really how the brain works overall. A lot of neurological functions come down to different regions of the brain activating at the same time and communicating with each other, even if they're not like in close proximity, they are coordinating to do a certain function. And these networks tend to be pretty stable between individuals. They're very predictable, and they are really, really important for the brain being able to work efficiently. The brain's ability to form network patterns is also really critical for a couple of things: neuroplasticity and resilience to adverse events. So, the brain is capable of changing the math that governs this connectivity, and that's something that you see written about in all sorts of different studies in different directions. That would be another whole video to explain. But what can happen in some people is that some event triggers a maladaptive sequence of events where the brain's efficient connection in these like mathematical networks is disrupted. And so even though the physical tissue is healthy, the ability to efficiently perform functions as like the brain operating as a whole as it's meant to is disrupted. And then that person will develop symptoms that closely mirror what would happen if certain physical regions were actually visibly damaged. So if connectivity to motor regions is affected, then a person can have symptoms that look like paralysis or weakness or tremors or stuff like that. And the way that it's treated specifically really depends on exactly what kind of symptoms have manifested, because there are a lot of different things that can happen and different symptoms do benefit from slightly different treatment approaches. But generally speaking, the most effective treatments target building back healthy brain connection and getting those networks to look more normal, and getting the brain to be able to like communicate with itself between regions more normally. So somebody who has, paralysis in one of their legs from FND would do physical therapy targeted at getting the brain to send signals to that leg again.